We are live and on the air. Welcome to OmniBros Live on a
When I do
Monday
this
night.
talker, I do two in the stink. Wait,
And I'm already getting interrupted by one of my co-hosts. This is OmniDog talking to you on OmniBros Live, where tonight we have a special guest that Gabe is going to introduce. I am joined by Gabe and from Near Mint Condition, Omar. What's up, Omar?
Good, good. How's everybody doing tonight? Jimmy?
Medicated Omar. Omar's not feeling well, so he's heavily under the influence.
Yeah. Even when I'm feeling good, I'm heavily under the influence.
Yeah, I agree with that. But first, we'll get a word from our sponsor, and then I will throw it to Gabe. This broadcast is brought to you by InStockTrades.com, where you can get up to 50% off your favorite collected editions, including 2 to 3% loyalty discounts, and every quarter an OmniBros discount. You get free shipping over $50 in the United States, fabulous packaging, and the best customer service around. That's InStockTrades.com. And Gabe, the babe, why don't you introduce our special guest tonight?
All right. Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for everybody showing up today for this awesome interview that we have planned out. Today, since it's convention season starting up already, we figured it'd be cool if we were able to get one of my local, maybe even your local comic book convention entrepreneurs on the show to talk about what it takes to put on a show. What does it really mean to have a successful convention? How do you get all these cool guests? How everything. We're going to talk about that. But today with that, we do have the one, the only, the truly amazing Mr. Jimmy J. Jimmy J, say what's up there, everybody.
Hey, Gabe, really, thanks so much for all the Omnibros, just for inviting me out to talk shop, talk about the amazing comic conventions, talk about omnibuses, talking about just the comic market in general. I'm really glad to be here. My background is I've been a convention retailer for well over 20 years. And setting up at all the different national conventions and a lot of the regional conventions. And about 8 years ago, I decided, hey, how hard could throwing a convention be? So going from having tables, having booths at these conventions to putting together things from soup to nuts. And we started up the Amazing Comic Con, and we currently run 2 annual events. We have the Amazing Las Vegas Comic Con, and we have the Amazing Comic-Con Aloha edition in Honolulu, Hawaii.
So oh my God! You get the 2 coolest cities.
That brings up my first question. How smart are you to have them in Vegas and Hawaii?
Well, no kidding.
I was going to say that's probably trial and error. We started out putting on conventions outside of Phoenix. And our first event that we put together was in Mesa, Arizona. And we dug the Arizona fan community, really nice base there, and we put on conventions there for over 5 years. During that time, we also expanded. We put on the very first Image Comics Expo in Oakland, California. We put on events in Las Vegas, Houston, Texas, OKC. We had one event there. But we really settled in on having our 2 best run shows, our 2 biggest shows, and I think our 2 most fun shows in Las Vegas and Honolulu. And I think it definitely has to do with those great cities. People want to come and visit them, but also, I think that these were also at the time underserviced fan communities too. So definitely people want to go there. And second of all, though, and most importantly, these are great fan communities that just needed to be ignited. And we've been lucky enough, been blessed enough to just be a part of that. So we're very grateful.
I'll ask the first question. How did you get started? What was the decision-making factor that you said, you know what, I could probably gather a bunch of people, a bunch of creators. Like, I assume doing this for 20-something years, you had made connections and things like that. But what made you decide to do it yourself?
No, you know what? That's a great question, and I think that we had to be a little bit nuts, quite frankly, to think that we could do it, because there was no like you know, hey, throwing a convention for dummies book out there, and there's no one single way to do it. I think it was at a time when the convention market wasn't as overpacked as it is now. So I mean, I think there was that influence on it. But during these 20 years, we put together with J Company Comics. That's from my family retail organization. We put together a number of exclusive editions, special edition books. I mean, things that are right now are the norm in comics. We were doing 15, 20 years ago, which was relatively unheard of, where we'd buy out the print runs, commission artists to do, to do these covers and so forth. So we built up a really good Rolodex of creators that we've worked with. We built up
Rolodex.
a really good Rolodex. No,
kids these days don't know what a Rolodex is.
Oh, exactly. No, absolutely. You know, I mean, dude, how funny is that? But that's so true. I mean, you know, it would be, we have a really great friends list.
There we go.
We have a really good, you know, I don't know what the equivalent would be, but we built up a really good set of contacts of creators and companies that we worked with. And so when we began throwing these conventions, we had people like, I mean, off the bat, like Robert Kirkman coming on out to our shows, and like Rob Liefeld, and you know, and people like that were, you know, these big industry names. But I knew from, you know, from my days of doing these special edition books, or I also published for a brief period of time with a company called Arcade Comics, and again, like that's where I got this like great connection with Robert Kirkman, and I was working with Rob Liefeld and some other great names. I mean, like Mark Miller and things like that. So hold on, sorry, technical difficulties. So during that time, as well as the time retailing, is you know, we built up, you know, these great connections, and we thought, okay, well, great, we rent the hall, we invite our favorite creators there, and people automatically show up. So that is so not the case, and that is such, that is, such just the basic, building blocks. I mean, we learned about city permits really quickly, and just marketing, and just working with the community, the different fan communities themselves. So it's a lot more than just getting a barn, putting out a sign that says Comic-Con here, and if you build it, people they will come. That's just that's such a simplistic way of looking at things. But at the time, I think that we were young enough and we were dumb enough to try it, and we've been very fortunate then that we've been able to, through a lot of hard work, just grow our events and make them, keep on reinvesting and making them a little bit stronger, a little bit better year in and year out. And that's ultimately our goal with the events.
How many people? Okay, how many people?
We're all gonna stumble on our question.
I know. Sorry.
Go ahead, Jess. No, go ahead.
How many years have you been doing Amazing Con? Let's just say Vegas. And what was the first attendance, and what was the latest attendance?
Okay, fantastic. That's a great question. This is going to be 2018 is going to be our 6th year in Las Vegas. So. For us, I mean, like we're very excited about it. I mean, Gabe will know this. Will probably know this, a lot better than I will. Is prior to our shows there wasn't a Comic-Con, a fan community based show that stuck in Las Vegas. I think that there's a lot of shows that try to pop up and try to market Sin City, like come to Sin City, party hard, and there's a Comic-Con. So our format. Hello, do you have? Did I lose you?
Yep.
Do I have?
Yeah, you're on.
No, you're
Okay,
back.
fantastic.
You're good.
So, so when we put together our first event, now it's going to be 6 years ago, or this is our 6th annual event. So 5 years ago, it was at the South Point Convention Center at the South Point Hotel. It was a much smaller room. When we visited the location, we said, "Man, this place is great," and we noticed that there was no. It was fantastic. When we went to move into the event on our very first year, we noticed that it smelled a lot like cows and a lot like horses that first event. So,
like most conventions.
Well, no, not quite. I mean,
it's not that.
Like this rodeo, this full-on rodeo setup.
I go to conventions in Kentucky. That's why.
Okay, well, you know what? Then maybe it is. Maybe it is similar. But in fact, I talked to the convention people who ran the hall there, and they're like, yeah, we kind of showed you some days when there wasn't another event going on, and it wasn't too bad. And our first year there was I think there was like a cutters event, which is like horses and stuff going on just a few feet away from the convention. But you know what? We were stoked because we still had a really good guest list. The very first year, we had about 15,000 people come through the doors, and over the 3-day weekend, and just again an enthusiastic crowd that I think we're just stoked that we put in the care, to put on these events. I mean, just from my standpoint, I mean, we're still huge fans. We come from a retail background. And so we put together things that we like to see at conventions, out at our conventions. Now, I mean, that doesn't, hopefully we figure that there's enough other people that like the same stuff that we do, or at least we hope to, we hope that's the case. But yeah, so that was our very first year in Las Vegas. Now in 2018, this is year number 6. 3 years ago, we moved from the South Point Hotel. Our event just got too big for the room there, and we moved to the convention center. So we're at the Las Vegas Convention Center, and our dates for this year are June 29th, 30th, and July 1st. Last year, what was our official attendance? We're marking it out at 25,000. We're marking our attendance out at 25,000. I think it's a conservative number.
Wow.
And what I say is a conservative number. I think in today's convention game, so many promoters want to say, oh man, we had 60,000 people through the door. We had 40,000 people through the door. We had 70,000 people through the door. We had this amount of people through the door. I would rather go with a conservative number than trying to create a different expectation. We had a really bustling at the door pickup this last year, so I mean that makes our numbers a little bit fuzzy. But so we had just under 30,000 for the event, and that's a really realistic approach to how the market has grown, and I think just the appetite for a fun pop culture weekend. So.
Yeah, that's excellent, man. Yeah, I remember when it was the first couple of years and it was at the South Point, and they had the rodeo going on. It all smelled like horse shit and cowboys and all that kind of stuff going on. And now it's great at the convention center. It's moved up so much that now you need like extra parking lot. You need like security now. With that being said, Jimmy, what is it? You mentioned earlier how there's been so many other shows who attempt to come to Vegas and they kind of just peter out and die. What is it about Amazing that makes you guys the only ones who have survived like the Comic-Con fad? It seems like.
Well, you know what? I think probably the second convention that I attended as a retailer was a show in the 90s, probably mid to late 90s, and it was a Comic-Con / technology show / porn show. That was at Sands Convention Center, and they had a cool guest list. I mean, they had Jim Lee and all of Homage Studios there, and the Wildstorm crew was there. Like all the Extreme Studios was there. Top Cow when they were banging hard with Darkness and Witchblade. The late great Michael Turner was there. There was still some heat on She back then, so Billy Tucci was there. Great guest list, right? But nobody showed up. And when I say nobody showed up, it's it was get all the books that you wanted signed, no lines. So it would have been this fantastic fan event. In terms of retail and in terms of a show promotion, probably not so much. But and I think then a few years later, it was probably early 2000s. There was another convention that took place at the Mandalay Bay.
Yeah, I remember that
Mandalay Bay. And I did not exhibit at that time at that show, and people said, why not? And said, man, you know, I want to watch football on the big screens in the sports book. And, you know, going through there, again, nobody showed up. And, you know, so during these events, I mean, the one big thing that we took away from it is that most of these events were outside companies that really tried to sell, hey, come and party hard, Las Vegas, you know, like party town and comic convention on the side. Now, we were pretty fortunate that someone who worked for our company was actually from Las Vegas. And she really pushed for, hey, come on, we got to have this event in Las Vegas. Go to Las Vegas. And it was more the idea that we need to cater to the home base first. You know, you can't put the cart before the horse, or however that saying goes. Is that so? What we tried to do was cater to the Las Vegas fan community, and Las Vegas fan community has just been growing year after year after year. I mean, just as the rate of the city has been growing, I mean, the fan community has. I mean, I want to say like Forbes rated it like the number 7 nerd community in the United States a few years ago. Now, it's not like we came to Las Vegas with those stats and really, you know, like took an approach like that. It was more, hey, this is, you know, A, this is close by. B, you know, we have someone who lives in Las Vegas and, you know, can work on the event year round, you know, boots on the ground type of approach. But our first thing that we tried to do was make relationships with as many of the stores that we could, because ultimately the stores are going to be the retail, or is going to be your base. That is the home place for all the fan community. They go in there Wednesdays after Wednesdays. They pick up their favorite titles. You know, the friendly neighborhood retail store, you know, gives them their, you know, like the scoop, what they should be into, what they should, you know, what's worthy of their time, what isn't worthy of their time. And, you know, so appealing to those home stores is what we really try to do first and foremost. And then from there, try to build out our events. And we're very fortunate that we have some great relationships in Las Vegas. We want to build more relationships in Las Vegas. So it's an ongoing process. It doesn't, sorry about that. It doesn't just stop, you know, after the first year. And you want to give value to the community. And really the community is first and foremost in building any convention in any city, in any place.
I have a question about the, 6 years ago, what I assume reached out to the people that you knew from working with them for 20 years at the cons. What differs now? Like, is it harder to get bigger names? You got to shell out more money, and you're kind of taking a gamble, right? Because you don't know if people want to come and see Lou Ferrigno. I'm just throwing names out there.
Yeah.
Or a few porn stars or whatever. I don't know if your show does that, but
I'll come see porn stars.
Yeah, well, not you. Your target audience. Because I know that the shows here in Central Kentucky have just kind of taken off. It's mainly Power Rangers and wrestlers.
Okay,
and comic books have taken, I think there were four or five creators. I interviewed every one of them, because that was it. Because mainly people are here to see wrestlers and Power Rangers.
You know what? It's you're not going to, when we first started the events, we really dug our heels in, and we were like, we're going to do comics only, and primarily comics. And, we've stayed true enough to that vision in that comic books will always be the focus of our shows. I have this thing that we always rally around. It's called the architects of pop culture. Is that I think and I believe, and as a company, we believe amazing comic conventions that all the best popular culture that we are absorbing, that we are taking in right now, all started with comic books. And if that's the case, then the people who created those big icons are the ones that should always be on the top of our marquee at the events. Now, we never want to stray far from, the core audience of comic books. And we will bring in different actors and things like that that tie into the comics. I mean, in fact, at Las Vegas this year, a big guest for us is Charlie Cox, who plays Daredevil on Netflix. Or we have cast members coming in from the Deadpool 2 movie. Well, that's great because it's like Deadpool is a comic book. Daredevil is a comic book. Now, that's cool for the actors, but at all points, we will always put the creators on top of the marquee. Like for, the big thing, and I know Gabe, it's true to his heart, it's true to his arm with the Avengers, the latest Avengers movie coming out with the Infinity War is, that's why we brought out Jim Starlin. I think more people, that movie's breaking box office records, but I think that people should know who Jim Starlin is. And that's why we have him coming out to the show. That's why, Rob Liefeld has come on out to a bunch of our events. Deadpool is at the center of pop culture. You can't go anywhere without seeing a Deadpool T-shirt or, drinking on a Deadpool Slurpee for that matter. So you're going to see that character absolutely everywhere. So it makes sense that we have the creator of that phenomenon there at the show. So in general, we always like to put those creators at the top of our list. Whether it's Marv Wolfman with Teen Titans and Teen Titans Go, it doesn't. Again, Jimmy and Amanda are coming out. They're huge Harley Quinn personalities. Harley has been is absolutely everywhere in mass media. So we try to link what's going on in mass media and the big popular phenomenons and bring it back to comics, or have the comics go back out to the pop culture. So it's a two-way street, and that's what we like to focus at the amazing Comic Cons.
So you rotate your artists and writers.
We try to as much. Oh no, that's a great question. We try to as much as possible, but then there's going to be certain constants that are popular year in and year out. We do try to shuffle the deck, so you aren't seeing the exact same creators, from 2 years ago to this year, 3 years ago to this year. And I think that's important because I think the fans want to see something different. But at the same time, I think that with those growing numbers, there's new fans coming in and they want to see what they may have missed in prior years. So I think it's a balancing act between the two, bringing new names and fresh faces, as well as bringing the favorites from the greater pop culture world. And it is hard because it's there's different times that we've put together a guest list that we've been really stoked about. And, just as fans, we thought were really high quality. These were books that we collected. These were books that, as retailers we sold. These were things that we, picked up as fans, and we've all slapped high fives with each other, behind closed doors, and was like, yep, that's the guest list. That's the one. And then immediately when the event closes, it's like, how do we do it better next time? And if you aren't pushing yourselves to make your events, bigger, broader, bringing in as good, if not better names, if you're not, constantly pushing yourself, you're not doing something right as a promoter. I felt that way as a fan. I felt that way when we were working straight up retail, and I'm a competitive guy, so I feel that way as a promoter as well. That we always want to push ourselves. And there's going to be some years that people go, hey, I like this guy, I like that guy more than I like, who you brought in. But you can always make the argument that we will always bring in the most relevant guest list that's available, and really celebrate comics and celebrate pop culture through those creators.
Yeah, that's the one thing I like about your guest list is every year there's a theme, and that theme is always around something comic book related. Like you're saying, it's not the same guest every time. This year with Infinity War, yeah, like you said, you got Jim Starlin, you got Ron Lim, and every year it's always been something. You guys have your ear on the ground, like what people are into, and what's going on, what's being popular for that year. Like when Deadpool first came out, you had Rob Liefeld out there and everything like that. So, and even on your guest list, like you said, you have your Power Rangers and your movie stars, but the top of the list and every other thing on the guest list is comic book related stuff. Rob Liefeld is the top one on there. you got Ron Lamb, you got Jim Chung. So yeah, that's great. That's what's wonderful about that show.
It's like we've been like we're really stoked. Like this last season, we've never worked with Jason Aaron, and I've always been a fan of his work. So it's like he's making his first amazing Comic-Con here. I've always been a fan of Scotty Young. His first amazing Comic-Con is going to be this year. Jim Chung has done some of the shows with us in the past, but he's closing down Spider-Man 800, and he's also launching Justice League. So he's a great relevant name. But there's going to be a lot of names that we've never worked with before, and I think it's important for us to always push it and bring in those creators. But even like and you made the joke earlier about the Power Rangers being on the guest list, is that right now it's very relevant in comics with the Shattered Grid.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is turning on a lot of people into comic fans, and it's a cool gateway drug. So I mean, I really feel good that we do have Jason David Frank at our event in Las Vegas, and then if people come in and check out him or check out maybe the Overwatch voice actors or things like that, there's relevant comic books, to those pop culture events. I mean, we have, Dark Horse puts out that really cool, Overwatch book, and they did Free Comic Book Day. So, I mean, I think it's cool that we do have those ties to, video games or pop culture, that are from the tie-ins as well. But again, it always stays comic focused and comic focused and comic focused. You're not going to see a Joni Loves Chachi reunion, here, or 16 Candles. And those are things that I'm not even bashing. Okay. So like, please don't even think it as that. It's just, those aren't Comic-Cons. And so when those events call themselves Comic-Cons, I kind of shrug my shoulders and say, well, where's the comic books? And I want to always try to keep into that sweet spot.
I have a question that you may or may not be able to answer because, much like I've set up at a couple of shows, and I've been going to conventions, for over 25 years. I notice a huge change probably in the mid-aughts, like probably 2005, 2006, out of any year that I've gone to conventions, where creators started charging, right? Like for a price. Like, oh yeah, you want a signature? Sure, it's $100. Or I'm sorry, and it started off with like $25, $50, $30, $100. I mean, Stanley, people like that. I guess my question has always been, because I remember how freaking jaded John Byrne was at the Mid-Ohio Con. He was like, oh, they used to pay for my limo. They used to pay for my hotel room. Now they want me to catch my own flights. So I figured something happened in the Comic-Con world where everything changed. And then these artists and I guess movie stars and TV show stars now are forced to pay or charge to get signatures because maybe they're not getting as much as they once were. I don't know. Like I said, it's probably, I don't even know if you know the answer to that.
You know what? I really don't. At Amazing, we've always had a policy since day one that the creators set their own policy. So that means the hours that they're at the convention, if they want to put a limit on how many books that they want to sign, if they want to sign all day, if they want to put a price on it, if they don't want to put a price on it. Because I never want to feel that the convention, puts limits on the creators on how they want to connect with fans. But no, I do think that there has been a big shift in the collectibles world. And I think that's for a couple of reasons. I mean, there was a really big convention promoter. I won't use his name, but I remember him, talking down to me about why, we don't have celebrity guests and how he has these great comic guests, but why we have comic guests, but why can we get some people that he can't get? And this is a big comic promoter, and with tons of money. Parents have tons of money. Has been in the game for a lot of years, and he's like, well, why is that the case? And showed me his flyer, and he kept on turning it and opening it up, and all these names were on it. And he's like, I paid over $2 million in guarantees for my celebrity guests. I go, well, how much did you, well, what are you doing for comic creators? And he goes, oh, absolutely nothing. I don't believe in doing absolutely anything. I bring a good amount of people through the door, and they should just be happy that they're featured here. And it struck me funny that he was paying premium dollars to have James Hong from Big Trouble in Little China and Bit Rolls and Blade Runner, and he was in Revenge of the Nerds too. He was paying premium dollars to have a guest like him to come out to his show, but it's like he wouldn't roll out the red carpet for comic creators, and I thought that was kind of funky. And I think that in this world, you see that back in those the early 2000s, those people were charging $25-$30 for an autograph, and in the grand scheme of things, if you're a fan coming through the door, why is this person charging and not this person? So I think that might have changed it. I mean, this is complete speculation on my part.
No, yeah.
I think the other part is definitely the CGC world. Is CGC slash grading world. Okay, because it's like when you have signature jocks traveling all over the country, and they have their little wheeling case, and they have their signature boxes cut out. And this is no disrespect to them, because man, this is how they collect. These books, they want a particular signature in a particular place at a particular time, and they're charging being a middleman, for these services and things like that. I mean, there's a lot of money that's being exchanged in yellow labels and things like that. So, at the end of the day, you go, well, why is it worth it for somebody who's just getting the signature? Why is their time a premium and not a comic creator's time as a premium? So these are all very gray areas, okay? And I don't have the answers to all of those. I don't pretend to, and I think different people, they assign a premium on their time as well, because spending a time at a convention like ours, even though it's in Las Vegas and even though it's in Hawaii and these places that are fun, it's away from their families, it's away from their friends, it's away from their work too. So, I mean, there's a whole bunch of factors, I think, going on why people charge, how people charge, should people charge, should people have limits. I don't think that's for Amazing to decide. I think that's for our guests to decide. And, ultimately as fans, you can choose to get these autographs where, you can choose to maybe instead just see them speak about their works on stage. So we tried to give a lot of different options, for a variety of price points, but I don't have the answers to that. I don't think any one person has an answer to that. I'm just a fan like you, and I like to meet my favorite creators, just like you all. I've opened my wallet to get stuff signed and personalized. I've opened my wallet to get something signed, with my fingers crossed that something might be worth more, might be collectible. But ultimately, I just like to have a fun time, when I visit a convention. But ultimately, it's up to those creators and it's up to those fans. And if there's a demand in that market, you will see those lines. If there's not a demand, you might be seeing tumbleweeds go by too. So I think it varies from case to case. I don't think it's a one size fits all. Of
course.
Approach. I do think though that there seems to be, just from my point of view, there seems to be a premium on people who create things though. So it's like if you create these big characters that you are seeing, on the big screen and so forth, that might have a different value. You might want to get your Funko Pop signed by that person. You might, if you have, 4 different T-shirts, depicting this character, that might be, somebody of esteem for you. So I mean, there's no set, one size fits all, but I think there will always be a premium on creators, on the creators.
Thank you.
And sorry if I get long-winded on anything. You can say, hey, at any point.
No.
We got it.
No, that's great.
We got it.
No, keep it up.
You brought up some really good points, because you also come from a fan's perspective. So when these things were happening, and now that you're on the other side, you yourself said you let the artist make their own rules, however many books they can sign, and whether they charge a premium or not. I always, yeah, that's really cool. I always wondered about that.
You know what? And at different points, I mean, you know what? And I feel, you know what? I feel for the fans. You know, at different points, go, oh man, you know, these conventions, you know, they cost money, and oh my gosh, do I want to wait in this line, and do I want to get a VIP ticket, you know, to surpass the line, or, you know, do I pay for this signature, or do I want to pay for this access, or do I want to pay for this photograph, you know, with this person? You know, I mean, ultimately, it's I feel like our job as promoters, let's put as many options out there. And, you know, we want to accommodate as many things that you can do and give you as many options. But just like when I go to Disneyland, I know that I won't be able to necessarily ride on Space Mountain 10 times, you know, in a single day. You know, I know that I'm not going to be able to necessarily see absolutely every single attraction that I want to. Now, I mean, Comic-Cons are a lot different. I mean, there's no animatronics involved and things like that. But you know, I do feel as a promoter is try to give as many options on the floor as possible. Try to give, you know, cool panels that people want to see, cool showcases for those creators, and different activities for things for people to do. Now, when I went to conventions growing up, I mean, my first true legit Comic-Con experience was San Diego Comic-Con 1986. I mean, my goal was to go through bins, you know, back issue bins nonstop, pull out the best dollar books that I could with whatever change that I could, and try to get as many signatures on those dollar books as possible. And
I don't think they even sell comic books at San Diego Comic-Con anymore.
You know, oddly enough, now my family
I think I'm right.
No, you are very close to it. Now, my family business, J Company, we set up like a Starbucks. We take a Starbucks approach to that event.
Okay.
We have 3 or 4 different locations on the convention floor. We try to, and they're all very similar. They're with a very similar approach in selling best-selling, you know, hardcovers, trade paperbacks, key back issues, as well as a good selection of current issues as well. But it's crazy. I mean, you don't see that. I mean, that's the evolution of the Comic-Con experience. So what I'm saying is that I realize that there aren't collector fans that are exactly like I was back in the day, you know, but there's a number of those. So we want to have something like that available for them. So our main floor is filled with those vendors. I come from a vendor background. We put a lot of time and care into those vendors, you know, but I also understand that there's a new school fan that, you know, they may want to play video games, or they may want to, if you're showing up with your, you know, with your 5-year-old, you know, you might want to do a coloring contest, and you might want to do the costume parade. And you know what, you might come from a, you know, a Facebook, you know, social media background and Instagram culture where you want to take your pictures with, you know, as many, you know, pseudo celebrities, real celebrities, and just, you know, freak fest, you know, that are at the convention. So, I mean, you know, our job is to set the table and give as many options as possible. So again, I know that every creator is not built exactly like how I was. And, but I think that there's still a lot of them out there. And, you know, you know, I think that says a lot about the flavor of our shows.
I do have an interesting question from the chat for you. One of which is, do you have a favorite memory or experience that sticks out in all your con going, con throwing, con giving? Anything with an interesting guest that's a highlight for you?
You know what? No, well, there's a lot. I mean, there truly is a lot. I remember the last year that we were in the South Point. I was with Rob Liefeld and Steve McNiven, and we were standing in the back of Jim Shooter's was a guest, and he started out real slow on his panel Q&A, and then he got rolling by the Ant-Man, and he was throwing just pearls, just complete gems of stories from the late Bronze Age. And I remember, you know, standing in the back going, oh my gosh, this is, you know,
this is exactly what I always wanted out of a convention. It doesn't, I don't need to be best friends with these creators. I don't need to be Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. We don't need to be, besties. I have a huge, hold on. I have a huge respect. Hello? Okay. I have a huge respect for everybody, but it's like how we got into this wasn't to be, hi, I'm your number one fan. Can we hang out and eat steak dinners after the events? It was, again, it was watching this unfold on stage, and it was really interesting. So, I mean, like, that's one. Maybe another one is when I was in Houston, Ed Piskor is one of my favorite creators. He's doing, he did Hip Hop Family Tree. He's doing the X-Men Grand Design book right now. And, just every few years, I might find whether it's an indie book or whether it's some other creation that creator that I haven't found before, I find their work and that sparks me in interest. So I remember completely fanboying out on Ed Piskor, and somebody who works with me is just like, man, you just became fanboy number one right over there. I mean, like, are you drooling? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm such an idiot. I am such an idiot. I'm such an idiot. But, okay, and Ed didn't feel that way. But then, you know what? It's like, it was a fun feeling to have. I mean, it was like a really, I was jacked up, getting my book signed. And one other one was I had my giant, the first comic that I owned was a treasury sized, Star Wars #1, and I had Howard Chaykin out to a show and Rick Hoberg, and I had both of them sign it. And Howard Chaykin looked at this book and he's like, "This is all beat to hell. I mean, don't you have something that's in nice shape? I mean, something of quality, something that's worth value that you want me to sign?" And I'm like, there is no more valuable book to me than this. And it's funny because Rick Hoberg gave just the opposite. I was like, man, you must have loved this book growing up. And I certainly did, man. There was tape on it, some staples, and that was my favorite book. So, I have a lot of favorite stories. And I think every year I have tons of favorite stories. That's like, oh my gosh, that's my best. That's my best. Oh my gosh, it can't get any better. And I feel very fortunate that I work in these conventions where we constantly have those experiences. And if it wasn't, then I don't think I'd be doing what I'm doing. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of heartache to put on these conventions. And it's those moments that, you are energized for years with those moments. So, that's where we come from.
Well, those are awesome stories. Is it, we've lost your video though. Is it possible you accidentally hit the video button on your Google Hangout?
There is. Let me try to
hover over the top. If you hover over the top, you'll see little icons show up that show the video camera and the microphone, a little phone thing where it says Google.
I see. Okay, hold on. I see Katy Perry's Fireworks and some crappy music I have on iTunes.
I think you've gone too far up. I think you've gone too far up. Near where it says live, if you hover on the line that's got live on it, Google should show up with the below where you have your address bar for the Google Hangout.
The teachers become the master.
Guys, I am so sorry for this.
Well, that's okay. We can still hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you. It's okay.
Okay, I think I'm gonna be audio. I think I have a face for radio a lot more than I do for video. So for the time being, until I figure. Oh, hold on. Is this?
There you go.
There you go.
Working now? Oh,
yep.
Okay,
there is that radio face.
There's that radio face. Exactly.
Jess is just a perfectionist when it comes with IT.
No, dude, for good reason. I mean, there's a reason that you guys have established yourselves as a as definitely a force in collectibles, and have built that audience up. And I'm just stoked that I can talk to your community just even for a few minutes. And again, when I ramble, dude, Gabe, slap me around. You are welcome to do it, okay? So,
no, man, we're all about the rambling and cutting people off, dude. It's good.
Our show goes on for like 2 hours.
We love it, man. It's great stories, dude. It's great stories, and I know you must have a lot, Jimmy, because with Amazing, you're the only I know, like not even just personally, but that I know. Like, I don't know the promoters for like WonderCon. I don't know who the promoters are for San Diego or Seattle or anything like that. And that's because you, Jimmy, from like I set up booths before at Amazing. I've been there plenty of times. I worked the show. I've gone there as a general admittance, but you're there when people are setting up their booths. You're on the con floor on a constant basis, checking the creators, make sure everybody's okay, checking with the vendors to make sure they're okay. You're the only person who's an actual face to a convention, and that's an amazing thing. And I know that's why you have so many great stories. You like to ramble on and you like to talk because you're out there. You're in the trenches with everybody else, and that's great.
Well, and that's I was gonna say that's my approach is being in the trenches, as believe me, as zero to do with egos. Okay, because there's with this background of exhibiting at these conventions, you have promoters that sit in their ivory towers and literally do counts and money and all that kind of stuff all day. And then you have other promoters that just hang out in the green room and kiss the ass of their media guests all day. And that, and that I'm not necessarily criticizing it. It's just my approach is I'm a blue collar guy. I want to be on the floor. If there's something that needs to be done, I'll do it. I mean, whether it is putting out chairs for a panel, whether it's bringing waters to creators. I mean, like I had Bob Layton one time. It's like, oh my gosh, Jimmy, come on, don't you have people under you that does this? And and he was definitely giving me the needle. He was poking me, and I'm like, listen, man, there's no I don't think that there's one duty that is too big or too small. I mean, I believe in being boots on the ground, and that's my approach. Right. So whether you are the top creator or whether you're a fan coming up, I want to be accessible as much as I can. I can't be everywhere at all times, but and there's no way I'm going to be the watcher. But if I could be as accessible for the most part, that's what I want to do.
I have a couple more questions. One of them is are you still a collector? Do you collect like omnibuses and trade paperbacks and things like that? Or
absolutely. I don't think you could ever shake the collective, the collector side or the fan side out of me.
So that's the first part of the second part question.
But it's just it feels like I always buy things in multiple formats. So I have tons of white boxes, of all the comics that that I bring. I mean,
you're a double or triple dipper. Welcome to the club.
Completely. But then at the same time, I mean, why I am an omnibus junkie is because then I go, hey, if I'm able to go to a shelf and pick something up and go through things, I'm more likely to do that than dig through literally towers and towers and towers of white boxes and pulling out this issue or that issue or this issue or that issue. So yes, I do. I have tons of omnibus, tons of absolutes, tons of hardcovers, tons of trade paperbacks. I'm a junkie.
So as a collector, do you ever run across the floor before it opens up and you find a damn deal that you're like, oh shit, I gotta grab that before somebody else takes it?
You know what? It's yes and no. I mean, meaning there's been times when it's like, when I've been like, I want that, I'll take it, bam, I'll do it. But then there's other times that it's like, it's like I see people go, oh my gosh, this was the greatest deal. This person was blowing out all their stuff, and we were going through these boxes, and we found this, and we found that, and this is all what I paid for it. And I feel jealous, going, oh crap, why wasn't I the one who was doing that? But at the same time, you know what? That's not my job. My job was to make sure that everybody else is happy. I don't think there's necessarily a conflict of interest. I think money talks, always on a convention floor. But at the same time, there was not. But there's been more times than it's been the latter. Like seeing like people, like these booming deals going off. you know, and not being able to take part of it. So,
well, your booth is one of those places, Jimmy. You have just a huge booth of Omnibus and stuff like that, are just, you know, blown out prices for the longest time.
Well, you know what? For the last chunk of years, just as okay, now I'm switching hats. So, you know, switching hats to as a retailer. Again, it reflects what I think more growing of what I like as a fan. Whether it's those key issues, you know, that are on the back wall, but on the omnibuses, it's, you know, we look for something that, you know, we can push the price point, you know, because it is a business, and so, you know, it's hard to make a lot of money by selling, you know, $3 items, even if they're great $3 items. Just, you know, that's part of doing business. But so I mean, so we wanted to get higher price points, so that's where the omnibus come in. But also, you know, it's a perennial bestseller, you know, approach, because it's like I feel like there's always going to be a demand for, you know, the best Frank Miller Daredevil stories. There's always going to be a demand for, you know, giant size X-Men, you know, the Cockrum Burn Run. There's always going to be a demand, you know, for these key storylines like that, you know, like you know, Stan Lee, you know, Ditko, Spider-Man. There's always going to be these big demands for these books. And, you know, I'm not a baller, you know, I can't go out and get, you know, these, you know, Silver Age and these classic, you know, books, you know, nonstop. So my approach is I want something for the every fan. Every fan, I think, can afford to spend $40, $50, $60, $100. Not every fan, a lot of fans are able on the best. You know, this is a steak. This isn't you know, you can walk away out of, you know, going through, you know, bargain bins of comics and getting, you know, pulling long boxes. I think the approach with J Company is, you know, you walk away with one omnibus, or you walk away with 2 collections, and those are going to be your quality reads. Those are going to be your quality stories that you walk away with from the convention with. You know, rather than going for, you know, the buffet approach. And so that's how we've taken the approach at as retailers at conventions. And it's always funky working, you know, when you have a convention and then, you know, there's retail booths. It's like, you know, we notice that when we're retailing, when we're, you know, as promoters, that's the job first and foremost. There's a lot of gray area, but it's, you know, I got to tell you, I'm not really counting on what we're doing at the, at the retail booths during the, during the amazing shows. It's just about servicing. It's about servicing a clientele.
Speaking of servicing your clientele, he segues. I've been going to cons ever since the 70s, and I noticed that there are a hell of a lot more women and families involved in con going than ever before. And with that comes an awful lot of cosplay. Does Amazing Con take any steps to ensure kind of an anti-harassment policy on some of these cosplayers and women in general?
Yeah, well,
to make it a safe space.
We do. You know what? Absolutely, and I think the events that we run are all family focused, and you know, we have made a commitment to that since day one, on keeping the family focus. We've taken safety policy out and, in fact, adjusted it at last year's Amazing Las Vegas Comic-Con. We have taken steps on, zero tolerance policy. So it's like if there are problems on the convention floor, our staff will immediately take care of things. We've had to escort people out, you know, for our events. But for the most part, we've had a really good crowd, and we've been very fortunate that we've had a very good crowd and a very respectful crowd. But I think that starts with marketing first, and and how we build our events, or we build our events as family events first and foremost. So you are going to, so that does set the bar high. But I think that is very important moving forward, because you want to have a safe environment for absolutely everybody, for all of your attendees coming through the door. I think that fandom should be a safe place, and I don't think it should be in an intimidating place. Oh, you lost the video again.
You're okay. We lost.
Okay, there we go.
You're okay.
There we go. so I mean, so we will constantly work toward that year in and year out. There's no event is ever going to be perfect, but we're definitely going to do everything in our power to make it a fun environment for everybody, and so everybody can really get the most out of their weekend rather than walking away feel hurt, because that's not good for anybody on any level.
Right. Good point.
I've got one more question, then I got to get going. But these guys can finish out the interview. Do you ever run across any creators that are prima donnas? You don't have to say any names that you will not work with again, just based on personalities. Like, you know what? It's not worth it. Like like any creators that are like, I only bathe in the Zani water.
You know what? I think for the most part, people have been pretty cool. Okay, and there's been way more cool people than there have been headaches. But I mean, I'm sure, but not every situation is a fit for everybody. There's probably going to be, I wouldn't be surprised if there was a creator that goes, man, you know what? I like this convention brand better than this convention brand. I mean, there are going to be inevitably better fits all the way around. But on the flip side, I always want to try to be accountable to that. So, I mean, the buck stops here. So if somebody goes, man, you know what? I really don't like the person who booked my travel. Well, you know what? Ultimately, that's my job. I mean, that's my, I oversee that. Where somebody goes, man, I really didn't like the volunteer that was posted in front of my line. Well, you know what? That's my job to change that out. So, I mean, there have been some tough creators, but we try to keep everything in stride. And our approach is definitely a concierge approach. And, we try to solve problems and deal with personalities as much as possible. And that's that's the job. If you can't deal with personalities, really, you know what? There are a number of ways to, you can buy your books online, instocktrades.com plug.
Yes.
I mean, so there's different places that you could, you can buy books and, you can buy entertainment. But I mean, I think that's a nice thing about being at a convention is that you are seeing all the different personalities. You're not worrying about their tone from their social media posts, or you're not worried about, I think there's some energy of seeing things live. I mean, just like seeing a concert or even a DJ live, it's different than putting on, your iPhone and just listening to, whatever iTunes tracks are out there. So, you're definitely going to get personalities.
Yeah.
But we've been very fortunate.
Here's a fun question. Any creators have weird things on their riders, like no brown M&Ms?
Comic creators have been mostly easy. And I will say Alp and Asterisk kind of have been mostly easy. I think the media guests, want to, try to push it a little bit more. And that is a huge generalization. But no, there's been, there's been a few funky requests, and we try to accommodate wherever we can.
Can you give us a fun example that won't incriminate anybody?
Put it this way, I've gotten NBA when we were in Oklahoma City. I ended up getting NBA tickets for some creators, and they were more, hey man, I'd love to see the game. And when I was able to get it, they were like, wow. I think they were more surprised that I came through rather than the flip side. So no, but for the comic creators for the most part are pretty, they're pretty chill in the grand scheme of things. Some of the media guests, I've been like, wow, you haven't been on
TV,
network television in 20 years, and wow, you're really asking a lot. But but for the most part, the comic people have been pretty cool. And where I've been surprised, there's been more cases where I've heard, oh, this comic creator's tough. This person is tough, and then they turn out to be the total sweethearts. Herb Trimp was that. I heard the horror stories of oh, Herb, don't cross Herb. Herb is angry. You wouldn't like Herb, but he's angry. And when he came down to Las Vegas the first time, his guy could not have been sweeter. And when he passed away, I mean, that's, that one really, was a big blow for our entire staff, because we loved him and Patricia, so his wife, who did a bunch of they both did a bunch of shows with us. They're nothing but sweethearts. But we've heard the stories. Oh, don't cross them. Oh my gosh. So it's funny. I mean, you're going to get that, I think, in all walks of life. You'll hear stories, different people that, you might be a big fan of, of their work, not so much as people. And then there's sometimes when you're like such big fans of the people that you love their work that much more. So, but yeah, no crazy green M&M writers. At least anything that I could think of.
I wanted to stay long enough to hear that answer, but now I got to get going. Guys, it's been a pleasure. You guys finish this up. Keep Jimmy busy. Let him keep answering questions.
Cool deal. And I know that I'm talking myself out of the. Hey, thanks for hanging out. I do appreciate it. I was going to say my phone will croak here in just a bit, but I have time for probably a couple more questions.
There you go, guys.
And then I'm going to get rocking and rolling.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye,
Omar.
See you guys on Thursday.
I hope your herpes.
Hopefully not medicated. They're not flaring up, asshole. Bye, Jimmy.
Oh my gosh. That is nuts.
That's nothing.
Hey, Jimmy, let's talk about this, man. You got you've had so many great guests at all of these shows. Getting Jim Starlin and Ron Lim, what's the story behind that? Was this difficult to do, or did you literally just kind of email and they said sure?
Well, both. I mean, I'll tell you what. For years, I've been trying to get Jim Starlin out to our events. He's always been on the top of, hey man, I'd really love to work with this guy. As a kid, some of my first comic books were books that were handed down, and they had Adam Warlock in them, and I thought he was really cool. He was the bomb. And then when Lim brought Adam Warlock back and Thanos back, and in the late '80s, early '90s with that Silver Surfer run, I was always a fan. I was a fan. Always dug it. So. He was always at the top of my list. And so I would go through social media, go through emails, friends of friends, art dealers, anything going, I'd really like to get, Jim out to the events. How do we do it? And I ran into roadblocks. And this fall, finally, I got in touch with Ron first. And I tried to get Ron out to shows. And he hasn't done the convention circuit as hardcore as others. I mean, he's got a good, stable job, so it's not like that he's dependent on, convention dollars, and, he's a family man. And so, so it's like, he's not the weekend warrior that, some of these other, creators are. But, I've always wanted to get them out to the shows, especially because it's like we've had George Perez, before he fell ill. We had George out to a number of our events and became really close with George. And, I always wanted to do, oh man, wouldn't it be great to work with these, these other creators. And this year, we had the opportunity to, and I jumped on it. It was like, fantastic. Let's make it happen. Let's do it. What do you guys need? Cool. You guys want to come on out to Las Vegas? Fantastic. Want to come out to Hawaii? Great. It's like it was like a done deal. So the opportunity presented itself. The timing couldn't be better. And as much as every time a Marvel movie would go by and go, oh my gosh, they showed Thanos again. Oh my gosh, I'd love to have Jim. Oh my gosh, I'd love to have Ron Lim out at the shows. It's like, if there's any time to have those creators out, it's at the beginning of this summer. I mean, when the interest is at an all-time high, and it's going to continue as such, throughout at least the next year with the follow-up to this year's Avengers Infinity War. So they were very high on the list of creators to work with.
That's great.
Yeah, dude, Yeah, I can't wait. That's a big get for me, is to like meet Ron and Jim Starlin. You know,
and those guys haven't done, relatively speaking, they haven't done every single show out there. And I mean, and that's, as a convention promoter, everybody's looking for the ungettable get. And I mean, I'm not going to put those guys in that impossible, that impossible category, but I try to stay as cognizant as possible of who's been appearing on the West Coast, who's been appearing on the East Coast a lot, and things like that. So it's not so it's not an overmatched, so it's not an overmatched situation, and sometimes there will be, and that's just how the calendars fall, and that's how the bookings fall, and things like that. But it really worked out having Jim Starlin out, and I think it was more, I was a fan of just these other people's work. Is that with the new just Avengers #1 by Jason Aaron and McGinnis, I really am digging that book. I mean, it's only been out less than a week, but I was a big Jason Aaron fan, and I was a big McGinnis fan from his Deadpool and Spider-Man Deadpool work. So I got both of those creators before it was announced to the public that they were on, teaming up on a book together. So I mean, so sometimes things just fall in your lap. Sometimes it's things that you're planning, years in advance. But I think that you always got to be trying, you always got to be working, and you always got to be ready to be lucky.
Yeah,
and that's been our approach.
Yeah, no, that's great, because we were trying to get him at Torpedo for a while, and we were talking to Jim Starlin through Ron Mars, Will that I work with at Torpedo. He's friends with Ron Mars. And Jim Starlin would just say, I don't want to do a store signing because I feel like nobody would show up for me. Like he doesn't know. And
I was going to say, Torpedo has great signings. I mean, those are fantastic. They get a grip of people there. Jim Starlin, I think, would get a grip of people no matter what. If he announced that, he was, going to, the hamburger stand around the corner, I think a ton of people would show up. Heck, I know I would.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you would.
Yeah, he doesn't know that. He doesn't know that he's a draw. He thinks that if he shows up somewhere, that nobody would come see him. Like, it's strange and unusual to think that he doesn't know. Maybe I just have him on a higher pedestal, but he just doesn't know who he is and how important the work he's done is affecting everything.
That could very well be the case. What I find with comic creators often, and my experience again has been like way more great than has been not as great, but way more great, is that it's interesting that I think there's some creators that completely overvalue their draw, and some that completely undervalue or underestimate their draw. And it's like I would say there's very few creators that at least are cognizant of going, okay, I know what I bring to the table. I know what, I know, I kind of like, I know where I am in the grand scheme. And I do think that every creator is somebody's favorite creator. And that is a legit statement. That's not a condescending, it is a legit statement. I mean, heck, I flipped out. Okay, if there's an omnibus for Human Fly, I would buy that in a friggin' second. Because the Human Fly. Yeah. So what I'm saying is
that's awesome.
Somebody's favorite. Every creator is somebody's favorite. But because you're one guy's favorite doesn't mean, necessarily that you're going to have a line around the block. And then there's other people that, completely underestimate it, and they have their responses like gangbusters.
Yeah.
So but
Jimmy, because you have a VIP package for Ron and Jim, right?
Well,
so
we can definitely gauge the response that way. But then there's other people that have gone, hey, so where's my VIP package? Like what are you doing to promote me special? And we do try to. There's something that with Amazing that I will say, I will compare to other shows, is that I do think that we go out and we're cheerleaders. If we don't want you at your show, if we want you at our show so much that we are going to push and we are going to try to spotlight why fans should care about you. Okay, that's what Amazing does. Why should fans care about this creator. Now, you had him at Torpedo this last year, but Jerry Conway is an example of that. Jerry Conway, I remember last year, was like, hey, you know, do you think people are actually going to know that I work in comics? I said, dude, you created the Punisher, bro. You know, you have this great body of work. You know, you killed Gwen Stacy. You killed a lot of big characters. And he's like, well, I'm really not sure. I mean, you know, I've gone to some local shows, you know, where I live, around where I live. And, you know, it's okay, but it's not anything special. Well, I mean, I would like to think that in, you know, through our website, through our social media, and just through our word of mouth, is we try to spotlight, these are the reasons that you should care about these creators. Do you like this book? Do you like this book? Do you like this book? This is a key moment. This is a key moment. This is a key moment. You know, this is why we should check these guys out. And, you know, and so that's, you know, that's the approach that we, you know, that we've taken. And I keep on saying that's the approach, that's the approach, that's the approach. But it's like, I want you to, and I guess I want the viewers to know, it's like how much that we care about these things. And it's like, that's why, like, you know, with the Jerry Conway, it's like, I want to showcase, you know, why you're important. And in fact, I know Torpedo had him out and had a great response. I mean, he is a great creator of esteem. I think, you know, these creators of esteem, again, it's like more people should know about them. And I think that's our job at Amazing, is to get those people who want to come to and visit, have a fun pop culture weekend, and show them the source. If it wasn't for these guys, there wouldn't be all those cosplayers. You know, there wouldn't be that video game. There wouldn't be those Funko Pops. There wouldn't be that show on Netflix. You know, there wouldn't be that movies. So, yeah, that's.
You still there?
No.
Uh-oh.
Well, yeah, I think that's a positive approach that you have towards that, Jimmy. Yeah, it's all about getting these people recognized and, you know, and other people familiar with why you love comics and why you love these characters. I think you might have lost Jimmy, but yeah. That's too bad right now.
I was going to ask him to tell us the dates again of Amazing Las Vegas. Do you know them offhand, Gabe, or can you look them up real quick?
Yeah, I have the website up right now. Let me double check here. It's June, so next month.
I think he said 29th, 30th,
and the 1st. And the 1st. So, yeah, I think he just texted me. He's out.
Okay.
So real quick with the Amazing Comic Con, I'm looking at their website. You guys can all go to amazingcomiccon.com/tickets. It's $60 for the 3-day admission, which is nothing. You know, that's $20 a day.
That's a good price.
And I know Jimmy, and I know his idea behind it has to be, we have as general admittance people going in, that's more money that the creators and the vendors make. And I know that's, you know, he used the word approach a lot. I'm pretty sure that's his approach to things is, you know, let us have more money in our pockets to spend on the creators. So everybody can check it out there. And I think there's also a Groupon. If anybody uses Groupon, there's a Groupon for the show for anybody here in Vegas. But man, that sucks, dude. It's too bad we lost him.
I have a feeling he was pretty much I think he needed to go anyway. So that was a great interview, and it sounds like his cons are fantastic. They're super focused on making sure everybody's happy, whether it's somebody that goes to the convention or somebody that presents at the convention. That sounds like I can see why you're so enthused about him as a promoter.
Yeah, no, these shows are absolutely great. Like I said, he's the only promoter I've ever seen who walks the floor on a constant basis and talks to everybody he can, and he owns everything. Like not just owning the convention, but he owns all the good that happens, all the bad that happens. Yeah. His team's amazing. I mean, he's definitely, you can also see who made this happen for other fans, because every other convention that happens in Vegas is pretty terrible. And he's smart. He has a show in Vegas and he has a show in Hawaii. Yeah. That's how you get your guests. That's how you get creators. You know, most time creators want to go to places that they've never been to before. So it's like, hey, I got to do a convention, but at the same time, I bring my family to Vegas and have a Vegas weekend or like a Hawaii weekend. That's on purpose for sure.
Yeah, that is smart marketing. We do have a question in the chat for you, Gabe, because you weren't here Thursday. Biggie Cheese is asking, what are your thoughts on Infinity War?
Well, I just saw it again for the third time this morning. So yeah, I guess that might give you an indication that I absolutely love that movie. I don't think there's anything really wrong or that I would really change with the rules that they've set up in the MCU. That I would make any changes to that movie. I think it's fantastic. There is nothing better than, I know it's completely different than the Infinity Gauntlet storyline, but there's nothing better for me than to kind of check my comic book knowledge, tuck it away into my pocket, and go into a movie and just enjoy the movie for what it is. And nothing proved that point more than the whole Soul Stone scene with Thanos and everything. That change they made to the idea of the Soul Stone is like the greatest thing I think they've ever done in any Marvel movie. That part was just the most touching, loving experience I've ever had in a movie theater, even though we all know what happens, but that was just such a touching moment for me.
Awesome. Well, we do have time to take questions from the chat, but before that, excuse me, I got a scratchy throat for some reason tonight. Sorry. I went all the way upstairs to get what I read, so I want to at least make that worth my while and show what I read this week, because I read a ton this week. I had a lot on my plate. I hauled nothing, but I read everything. Starting off, I read Gotham City Sirens with that gal Harley Quinn, and I should do a review on this book.
You read the whole thing already, man?
I did, yeah. I opened it up as soon as I got it, and I just plowed right through it.
Badass.
Yeah, man. Then, let's see. No, I haven't read those two, but I did go through all of Riley's favorite book, Red Hulk. I read all these Red Hulk books. Yoink. Look how many there are. And it ranged from good to excellent, so it was a good choice. He's still 12 for 12. I really enjoyed Red Hulk. Some stories were fantastic. I didn't think I was going to care for the Fear itself, Hulk and Dracula, but it was actually really pretty good. I really enjoyed that.
Hey, I'll be right back, Jess. Do your thing. I'll be right back.
Okay. I see the big Thanos shirt you're wearing.
I'm going to pee my pants, too, so give me a second.
Okay. And I see in the chat, Taylor Alexander Cassidy, you haven't read Aphra yet? You have to read Dr. Aphra. You have to read Darth Vader, Star Wars for Dr. Aphra, and you got to read the Dr. Aphra follow-up solo story. Dr. Aphra is a great creation. That's just from me. That's just my opinion. And since I'm the only one in the air, my opinion counts. So yeah, I read Red Hulk. I read and loved Punisher: The Platoon. Excellent book by Garth Ennis. I am reading currently and almost done with Lazarus X plus 66, a series of short stories that are great. Greg Rucka had a hand in all of them. He had co-writers on all of them too. Then I read some singles. I read Batman Annual 2, which was very touching at the end. I did not pick up on the fact that it was going to be that touching. Beautiful story. Action Comics 1000 I read, and I thought it was pretty good. I think it's hard to get, I think it's hard to really grasp short stories that are this short. It's hard to really sink your teeth into them. So I went into it thinking that it would be pretty good, and that's what it was pretty good. I'm looking forward to Bendis's extended run and see what he can do on Superman. And then I read Swamp Thing Winter Special, which is probably 6 months old at this point, but I finally got it.
Ooh.
And
that's the first print too, man. That's good.
Oh, it is? Oh,
that's
good.
the first print. Yeah, that was a hard book to find for a little bit.
Oh, woohoo! I got it.
It was Swamp Thing. Like I don't think anybody really ordered it, and then it blew up really popular.
Oh, okay. Well, yay me. And so that is what I have read and what I am reading. What are you reading?
Oh. All right. So what I'm reading, well, with the Infinity War, I got the bug. I had to go in, and I had to bust open these books out of the Infinity Gauntlet box set. So this is the Infinity Gauntlet Prelude, which I just finished reading. And this stuff is great. I sound like Tony the Tiger. But yeah, this was a fantastic read. This is all the lead-up issues into Infinity Gauntlet. So you have, we were talking about earlier before with Jimmy, the great return of Adam Warlock and Thanos within that Jim Starlin, Ron Lim, Silver Surfer series. So this collects, let me see if I can remember off the top of my head, Silver Surfer 35 through 50, I want to say, and Thanos Quest 1 through 2. And it's great. I love Ron Lim's work. And that led me right into the Infinity Gauntlet itself storyline, which I am currently reading, probably for maybe like my 20th time. Yeah. But reading this stuff and seeing the movie, they took so much out of the source material. Small, tiny nuggets, like it's not exact, but you can see where the influence from these storylines really, really took place. Because in this storyline, Silver Surfer gets thrown to Earth and crashes through Doctor Strange's sanctum into the stairs. Where in the movie it was Hulk, but it's the same exact thing, the same exact kind of idea of something big and bad going on, taking out a big bad character, and then going, Thanos is coming, and it ends right there. So just stuff like that really came out of here. The Mephisto is in the storyline. He kind of takes the Loki approach with him trying to be Thanos's first I don't know what we call it,
ally
and stuff like that. Ally, actually, yeah. So I'm loving it. And again, like I said, it goes right into the Infinity War or an Infinity Gauntlet storyline. And this might be sacrilege, but I'm going to say this. I think I like Ron Lim's Thanos better than George Perez. I like Ron Lim's work a lot more than George Perez's. It's completely different. It's a totally different style, but I just really love Ron Lim's more cartoony, basic kind of panel layout, where George Perez, being a great master that he is, does really crazy outgoing panel layouts in here. But I got to go with Ron Lim on this. His storytelling is so much better than me on these storylines. So that's what I'm reading. I picked up a bunch of stuff, but we won't get into that right now because I think it's already kind of running a little late today as it is. But yeah, if you've seen Infinity War, get some of these back issues for sure.
Good. Biggie Cheese, scroll back about 5 minutes. Gabe answered your question about 5 minutes ago. So I did ask it. He wants to know your thoughts on Infinity War. That was about 5 minutes ago.
I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, he's seen it 3 times already.
I'll see it a 4th because I got free tickets at a movie theater, so I will go see it again.
And I think I know the answer to this question. Do you predict to see Warlock in Infinity War 2? I think James Gunn has said he's saving Warlock for Guardians of the Galaxy 3, has been my understanding.
Yeah, I heard that too, and I'm just trying to wrap my head around how they're going to defeat Thanos without
Warlock. Yeah,
I mean, maybe they're going, Captain Marvel. I just don't see that being a viable way of taking him down. But who knows? I mean, that's what I like about these movies and how they're not quite following the storyline. Even somebody that's, I feel pretty red on the subject. I don't know what the next step is. I don't know what's going to happen next. I'm asking and maybe come up with my own answers to some of these questions as well. Like, are they going to do Adam Warlock? How are they going to bring the people back? are the people who died before the finger snap, are they dead, or are they going to be brought back somehow to, I have all those questions too. Like, is Hulk going to return? How's Hulk going to return? Is it going to be because something bad happens to Black Widow? I'm running all these same scenarios in my head as well. So that's what I love about being able, like I said, to check my comic book knowledge out for a couple hours and enjoy these movies for what they present.
Yeah. And Jimmy Owens is recommending Copperhead to me. Okay, I read a few issues of that in singles and liked it, so I will search it down and get it. Thank you, Jimmy. Let's see. That probably pretty much wraps it up. We've been on an hour and a half, and we're probably losing viewers by the second. So we have one more promotion for our fabulous sponsor. That's InStockTrades.com. Let me do backwards. Fabulous customer service, fabulous packaging, orders over $50 in the United States get you free shipping, loyalty discounts to 2 to 3%, and don't forget every quarter an OmniBros discount, and up to 50% off on your collected editions. So there you go. Gabe, where can they find you?
You can find me here on YouTube as well on Gabe Infinity Watch. You can find me on Instagram at Gabe Infinity Watch. And if you ever make it out to Vegas, come visit me at Torpedo Comics as well, and we'll hang out and talk comics.
And you can find me on YouTube, OmniDogs Vault, and on Instagram, OmniDogs_Vault. Thank you, everybody in the chat, everybody that viewed us, watched us. Hit that like button. Please subscribe. And do us a favor.
Big thanks. And a big thanks to Jimmy J.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing Comic Con for coming on, talking about what it's like to put on a awesome comic book convention.
Yeah, comic book focus sounds like that was the key to all his success.
I think I was going to ask him Bros panel, but then he already, his phone died on us. But I was hoping to squeeze us in and fly us all in OmniBros panel, or at least some kind of meetup. I think would be cool, but that'd be great.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Peace and love. Peace and love.